much, Casey, for playing the prelude to our show so beautifully. Minasan konbanwa. Yokoso Nihongo Yoto Se Kyokai ni. Good evening and welcome to the Japanese National Honor Society induction ceremony. Thank you again for taking the time to join us in the celebration of such dedicated students. My name is Sadia Rahat and I am a senior here at North Penn and have been taking Japanese for 4 years now. I am the current Japanese Language Club and International Friendship Club president. I'm excited to share that I will be attending Temple University to study genomics and medicine with a pre-med track in the fall.
Guten Abend, meine Damen und Herren, und willkommen heute Abend zu unserer Zeremonie. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to tonight's ceremony for the joint induction of both the National German and Japanese Honor Society students. My name is Rafiq, I'll be one of your MCs tonight, and before we start, I'd just like to thank you all for coming out tonight. I know your schedules are probably busy, I know APs just finished today, so thank you. A little about myself. I've been taking German for 4 years now. I'm a senior at North Penn. I'm the German club president, and in the fall I hope to study economics at Georgetown University. Now, before we move on, I'd like to introduce Sensei Koyo and Casey to perform another piece for us.
Thank you so much, Sensei Coyle, and Casey with your beautiful duet. Now, without further ado, I would like to introduce to you the face of the Japanese program here at North Penn, Koyo Sensei. Koyo Sensei has been a part of North Penn for 23 years after working not only in an engineering firm, but also with Sony in Japan. She is the advisor of the Japanese Language Club as well as the International Friendship Club. She received an award in 2012 known as the AATJ National Teacher of the Year Award. 4 years ago, Koyo Sensei also received the Superintendent's Honor Roll Award.
Minasan konbanwa. Good afternoon. Thank you for coming to this joint Japanese joint honor society ceremony. This is a wonderful program, so I really hope this will continue for a long time. The last couple of years has been very challenging, so we haven't had a formal ceremony like this one. So I'm very happy to see everyone here tonight in person. This year's ceremony is a bittersweet one for me because this will be my last year at North Penn. I have truly enjoyed working with my students for the last 23 years. Parents, thank you so much for allowing me to be part of your daughters and sons' educational journey. I will cherish all the memories that I have made with my students. Tonight, we have 2 seniors, 9 juniors, and 11 sophomores who will be inducted for their excellent achievement in Japanese studies. Each year, my students participate in various language competitions. We had a few events this year due to the ongoing pandemic-related restrictions, but some of them participated in Villanova contest, which they test their culture and language skills. And last month, everyone took a national exam. And I'm very pleased to say that a total of 20 students will be receiving an award by American Association of Teachers of Japanese. On a lighter note, we have lots of fun activities throughout the year in Japanese classes. We make Japanese food, throw soybeans at oni, goldfish catching game, origami, candy fish making, hike riding, to name a few. We also visit Japanese Mitsuwa market in New Jersey every year, so students can practice their Japanese speaking and eat authentic food, and of course enjoy shopping. Over the years, many of my students took cultural and educational trips to Japan and continue to study Japanese in college. There are so many opportunities to study abroad in Japan when you are in college. So I hope everyone will have a chance to visit Japan too. It will expand your perspectives and you will appreciate your own culture more as you learn about other cultures. Japan is one of the safest countries, so if you leave your wallet or your iPhone or whatever you leave on the bus or train, most likely you will get them back. So you should definitely go. We live in a multicultural society, so why not travel the world? And we can, why don't we use the language we learned? And perhaps you will learn another language in the future too. We're very fortunate to have so many talented students at North Penn, and no celebration can begin without music or entertainment. We have a wonderful program planned for you tonight. Our own senior Sariara Hart will be taking over for the Japanese portion of the ceremony at this time. Please enjoy the ceremony. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sensei.
So, of course, this isn't just an induction for our Japanese students, but also for our German students at the high school, which brings us to Herr Baker. He's been teaching German here at North Penn for a decade, and has taken 4 groups of students to Germany. And after he graduated from North Penn himself, he received his bachelor's degree in German and he's currently working on his master's degree. In 2007, he lived and studied in Dresden, and he's currently the advisor of the German club. So here's Herr Baker.
Thank you all so much for being here tonight. I guess I should have said that in German. Dankeschön, dass ihr alle da seid. That's it. I was looking through some of the stuff that we've done in the past in preparation for tonight, and I noticed that the last poem that we performed was a poem by Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. And the title of that was Dauer im Wechsel, which loosely translated means permanence in change. And I thought that was actually a really also fitting idea to bring into tonight's ceremony for my talk tonight, for the welcome message, because there's a lot of permanence, there's a lot of continuation of what we've been doing over the last years, despite the difficulties. So as crazy as everything has been due to the worldwide pandemic, we've maintained still a really high level of performance, and the German students here have continued to impress, so it's changing as everything has been. We have 22 students this year who have managed to medal for the National German exam, which is a really impressive number. 2 of them were even offered a invitation down to the regional ceremony in Philadelphia at the Pennsylvania German Society. And in addition to the National German exam, which we hold every year, we also have many members, 14 to be exact, being inducted into the National German Honor Society tonight. And that's in addition to the 8 existing members. Some of the other things that we're looking forward to, not only this year, but also looking ahead already to next year, is our year-long exchange. Continuing its long history of over 55 years at this point. We'll be sending a student over again for the entire year. And then also we are already in plans for the 2-week exchange that we have coming up in October. So for those families of juniors and sophomores, be on the lookout for some opportunities to host a German and make your homework really easy for 2 weeks. The other thing, though, that was in that poem's name is change. And so I'm also here to tell those of you who don't know that this is also my last year here at North Penn. And this is extraordinarily hard for me because I'm not sure if you heard Sensei said that she's been here for 23 years, and she claims that to cherish all of the memories of all of her students. But I was one of her students. So I hope that she was including 100% of all of her students, because I was hard as a student to have her, to be part of that classroom management strategy. So it's not only just that I was at North Penn for Japanese. I also, of course, was on my first 5 years of German language instruction were here at North Penn, and I was born in Pennsylvania, born in Lansdale, right on 5th Street. If you know Juliana's, great little corner store. But this summer does bring kind of a season of change, and I'll be moving up to Boston and continuing teaching up there. So I've been so happy to get to know the students that I've had for the last 3 years, the ones in AP, to see how much you've grown. You just took the AP this morning. Thank goodness that's over. And so in addition to that, I mean, I'm excited to see how you, hopefully hear from you in the future, and how you got to go to visit Germany and see how things are going. But also the sophomores and juniors. Despite that year that occurred, you've made such strides this year coming back. I'll remember all of my students, but I think that you all will hold a very special part of of my heart in that this is my last year being here. So I wanted to thank you, students. You don't know how much I do appreciate you putting in the work that I never see outside of class. It's endlessly impressive. While I was a member of the National Honor Society here, I never medaled on that National German exam. So if that is pertaining to you, then even more congratulations. I also want to thank the administration, Mr. Nicholson, the principal here, for their continued support of the language programs that we have at North Penn. They do change lives. I am one of those people whose lives was changed, and there's many more. I hope maybe our guest speaker tonight had a similar experience. So the students, the administration, North Penn, I can't leave the stage though tonight without also thanking the parents here, both German and Japanese. As much time as you students are putting into to your studies outside that I never see, I definitely never see and often don't get the chance to meet all of the parents who are there to support their children. Without you, this couldn't happen. Driving them back and forth for all of the hours of practice, thank you so much. I hope that you do continue to encourage them to step outside of their comfort zone in English and continue with their passions in German and in Japanese. And thank you, Sensei, as well.
All right, thank you, Herr Baker. So our first performance tonight will be Max Wein. He'll be playing Johann Pachelbel's Canon in D. So before that begins, I'd like to ask everyone, please silence your cell phones, and just during the performances, refrain from leaving the room as much as possible. So here's Max.
Thank you so much, Max. Beautifully done. For our next performance, we will have Casey Hong and Brian Hayes perform a duet from a famous movie, Howl's Moving Castle, which is a 2004 Japanese animated fantasy film written and directed by Hayao Miyazaki, who is the recipient of numerous Japanese and international awards, along with being the winner of the Academy Award for the Best Animated Feature. Casey will perform the theme song for Howl's Moving Castle on the violin, accompanied by Brian on the piano. Please enjoy their performance. Casey and Brian for your magical duet on the theme song to Howl's Moving Castle. Please give them another round of applause, everyone.
Okay, so next up, Sarah Sichter will be reading a poem titled Herr von Ribbeck auf Ribbeck im Havelland, which translates to Count von Ribbeck living in Ribbeck Manor in the Havelland region. And you'll find a translation of the poem in your program for tonight. So here is Sarah.
Herr von Ribbeck auf Ribbeck im Havelland. Herr von Ribbeck auf Ribbeck im Havelland. Ein Birnbaum in seinem Garten stand und kam in die goldene Herbstzeit. Und die Birnen leuchteten weit und breit. Da stoppte, wenn man's Mittag und Türme scholl, der von Ribbeck sich beide Taschen will. Und kam in den Pantinen ein Junge daher. So rief er, Junge, bist du ne Bär? Und kam eine Mädel, so rief er, Lütchen, komm mein Rauer, ich hätte ne Bären. So ging es 4 Jahre, bis Lobetsam, der von Ribbeck auf Ribbeck zu sterben kam. Er fühlte sein Ende zur Herbstzeit. Weiter lachten die Bären weit und breit. Da sagte von Ribbeck, ich scheide nun ab. Legt mir eine Birne mit ins Grab. Und 3 Tage drauf, auf dem Doppeldachhaus, trugen von Ribbeck sie hinaus. Alle Bauern und Bühnen mit Feiergesicht sangen Jesus, meine Zuversicht. Und die Kinder klagten, das Herz ist schwer. Er ist dort nur, wer gibt uns ne Bär? So klagten die Kinder, das war nicht recht. Ach, sie kannten den alten Ribbeck schlecht. Der neue Freilich, der knausert und spart, hält Park und Birnbaum strenger bewahrt. Aber die alte war an und schön und voll Misstrauen gegen den eigenen Sohn. Der wusste genau, was damals er tat, als ein Bären ins Gab er bat. Und im 3. Jahr aus dem stillen Haus ein Birnbaumsprössling sproßt heraus. Und die Jahre gehen wohl auf und ab, langst wohl ein Birnbaum über dem Gab. Und in der goldenen Herbstzeit leuchtet's weiter weit und breit. Und kommt ein Junge übern Kirchhof her, so flüstert's im Baune, wisst ihr ne Bär? Und kommt ein Mädel, so flüstert's, Blutdirn, kommt mal nau, ich geh ne Bären. So spendet sie noch immer die Hand, des von Ribbeck auf Ribbeck im Havelland.
Thank you so much, Sarah. You beautifully said. Our next act will be on the topic of martial arts. There are many different styles and types of karate. Its origins come from Japan, specifically Okinawa. Karate means open hand, and the art focuses on movements and energy that come from the body and mind. Today, Ian Schmitz will be demonstrating the martial art of karate and showing us what he has learned for training for more than a decade.
Hello. I shall refrain from introducing myself as that has already been done, but I am a black belt practitioner in Tungsudo and Mudokwon, a style heavily influenced by the Okinawan style of Shotokan and formed during the Japanese occupation of Korea before World War II. In those days, when someone learned martial arts, it was to protect themselves and fight. But nowadays, fighting is prohibited. And if you are to use your martial arts to protect yourself, you would have to call the police, stay with your subdued offender, and explain the situation in order to keep yourself and your instructor out of trouble. Most people nowadays see martial arts as a wellness art, focusing on doing it for its mental and physical well-being, as well as to rejuvenate and prolong their enjoyment of life. Most martial arts nowadays are taught, via form teachings, or katas. I will be demonstrating 3 of these to you today. A beginner, intermediate, and an advanced kata. Though I cannot do all of it, though I cannot do the full forms of them, as some have over 100 moves. Basic form number 1, Hichan Irabu. form number 1, the first form we ever taught. Ichon Ilbu teaches us 3 basic but vital movements. Our first stance, the front stance. A basic block, a low block, and an attack. Next, I will be demonstrating the intermediate form, Pangan Ilbu, Pangan Ibu. This will build on the first form by adding more movements. Pangan Ibu. Finally, I will be demonstrating in another form, Chindo, an advanced form that adds even more to the complexity of our forms. Some of you may think that I'm dancing by the way I move, but I assure you, whilst martial arts and dance have many similar forms, they are not quite the same. Martial arts and dance come in many forms, but dance is purely an art, whilst martial arts combines that art form with power and force. My hope is that this next form that I will demonstrate that.
Thank you so much, Ian, for displaying your skills. For our next performance this evening, we will be having the reenactment of the old Japanese folktale Momotaro, also known as Peach Boy. Narrated by Kaylin Becker, this is the tale about a young boy found inside of a giant peach, who grows up to save his village from the terrible Oni, which in Japanese means demon.
Once upon a time, there was an old man and his old wife living in a village in Japan. The old man, called Oji-san, was a woodcutter, and his wife, Oba-san, a washerwoman. They lived alone as they had no children and were a little lonely. Every day, Oji-san gathered firewood in the mountains, and Oba-san washed clothes in a nearby stream. One day, when Oba-san was doing her washing, an enormous peach came floating down the river.
Oh, wow! What's that? Is that a big peach? Ah, so heavy!
It was the biggest peach she had ever seen. She picked it up with difficulty. It was so big and heavy, and took it home. Oba-san waited for Oji-san to come home before eating the peach.
I'm home! Welcome home! I found this big peach frosting. Oh boy, it looks so yummy! Let's eat!
When Oji-san had arrived, Oba-san took out a knife. As she was getting ready to cut the peach in half, the sound of a human voice came from inside the peach. Suddenly, the peach split open and a beautiful baby boy jumped out of the peach.
It's a boy! A little boy! Yes, a boy! So cute!
They named him Momotaro. Momo means peach, Taro is a common Japanese boy's name, and brought him up with tender love and care. Momotaro grew up strong, powerful, and kind. In no time at all, he had become the strongest in the village. But times were changing, and people were having a very hard time because more and more Oni were ravaging their coasts, and nobody knew what to do. So, Momotaro decided to go to Onigashima, where Oni lived, fight the Oni, and free the prisoners there, and bring back the stolen treasure.
Oji-san, Oba-san, I'm going to Onigashima. But that's so dangerous. Oh no, I'm so worried. Don't worry, I'll be okay. I give up. Here, take these rice dumplings. They'll make you strong. Thank you, Oba-san, I love you. Please be careful. I will, thank you.
Oji-san and Oba-san were surprised, but proud of Momotaro for wanting to help other people. Oba-san fixed his favorite food of rice balls, and Momotaro went on his journey. Momotaro set off in high spirits. At the edge of the village, he met a dog.
Hello, Momotaro. Where are you going?
I'm going to Onigashima to fight the Oni.
Why? What's looking like that bad?
I'm going to fight the Oni, and this is the rice dumpling. If you come with me, I'll give you one of them.
Yes, I will. I'd love to.
The dog got the rice ball and became Momotaro's steadfast companion.
Momotaro, where are you going?
I'm going to Onigashima to fight the Oni.
I want to go. Can I come?
If I give you one of these dumplings, will you help me?
I want to go. Yes.
Hello, Momotaro. Where are you going?
I'm going to Onigashima to fight the Oni.
I want to go. Can I come with you?
Sure, if you give me one of these dumplings, will you help me fight them?
I will. Yeah, I want to go.
In return for a tasty rice ball, both Monkey and Pheasant agreed to join Momotaro's adventure.
Let's go to Onigashima! Look! Onigashima!
Yes, Gary.
Don't worry, we're strong.
And we're brave.
But we're stronger.
Help!
With the strength of the rice balls, Momotaro's group can now defeat the Oni.
We're sorry!
We'll return this treasure.
We'll return the people.
So sorry.
Yay, we won!
We did it! Yeah!
Momotaro and his friends took home all of the prisoners and the treasure they found locked up in Onigashima. Oji-san and Oba-san rejoiced to see Momotaro return home safely. Thank you so much for your performance. It was wonderfully played and great reenactments.
So as the narrator, Kaylin Becker. As the Peach Boy, we have Max Rogovin. As the Monkey, Ryan Moore. As the Dog, Ian Schmitz. As the Pheasant, Zach Hill. As the Obasan or Granny, Kevin Tiet. As the Oji-san, Prisha Pai. And the Oni were Raymond Boyton, Sagir Mutlusim, and Cassandra Amador. The prisoner was Rylan Jeffries, and the background crew included Kyle Cox, Marvin Nguyen, and Brendan Nguyen. Also, a special thanks to the stage crew and costume designers, Sajia Maurin, Alexia Georgie, and Olivia Hannigan. Please give them another round of applause. without any further ado, I think we should start presenting this year's inductees into the National German Honor Society, also known as Delta Epsilon Phi. So for that, here's Herr Baker.
We are gathered here for the induction of these students into the German National Honor Society at North Penn High School. We're happy to make you members of Beta Sigma, the Pennsylvania chapter of the National German Honor Society, Delta Epsilon Phi. Let your membership in this honor society reflect your continued interest and in increasing your understanding of your own culture by learning to appreciate another. Please come forward when your name is called. Layla Ivan. Noah Philgrove. Colin Graham can't be here tonight. Tarun Iyengar. Sadni Khan is also unavailable tonight. Sophia Shell. Nathan Schlegel. Sawyer Steinbauer. Jason Wine. Hannah Cox. Jack Leary. Julian Ma. Daniel Steinmetz. And Isha Belaga. In the presence of these witnesses, we now ask you to join this honor society. Ihr habt euch als Schüler der deutschen Sprache besonders ausgezeichnet und euer Interesse an der deutschen Sprache und Kultur bewiesen. Seid ihr bereit, Mitglied der Ehrenverbindung Delta Epsilon Phi zu werden? Wenn das so ist, sag bitte jetzt Ja.
And for those non-German speakers in the audience, I'll translate that real quick. You all have shown yourselves to be outstanding students of the German language and proven your interest in the German language and culture. Are you prepared to become members of Delta Epsilon Phi? If so, answer yes.
Dann erklärt eure Bereitschaft, indem ihr die folgende Frage mit einem Ja beantwortet. Verpflichtet ihr euch auch weiterhin, die deutsche Sprache und Kultur in Ehren zu halten?
And that was, please declare your readiness by answering the following question with Ja. Do you make a commitment to continue to honor the German language and culture?
Und jetzt heißen wir euch herzlichen Willkommen in der Ehrenverbindung Delta Epsilon Phi. We now declare you members of Delta Epsilon Phi, the National German Honor Society. Congratulations, and please join me in a round of applause for our inductees. One more round of applause for our
Congratulations to the German Epsilon 5. Now we will begin the Japanese induction ceremony. Each member has taken Japanese for at least 2 years and has received a 3.5 plus GPA in order to qualify. These individuals will be able to help volunteer for various activities along with involving themselves in the Japanese community. So please give me a round of applause to introduce Koil Sensei.
Thank you, Xavier. We are gathered here to honor the following students of Northland High School for their outstanding achievement in Japanese language studies. Their induction into the Japanese National Honor Society not only reflects their academic performance, but also their interest in learning about other culture. Please come forward when your name is called. Cassandra Amador, Karen Baker, Ethan Bellick, Raymond Boyton, Patrick Chan, Emily Courtney, Kyle Cox, Hoi Din, Angeline Antonio, Casey Hong, Lily Livel, Satchis Marioker, Brandon Nguyen, Marvin Nguyen, Max Rogovin, Sophia Shell, Kevin Tiet, Payne Trong, Zachary Wang, Lin Watanabe, Gianni Cachese, Renee Khan.じゃあ新しい優等生の皆さん、私の後で繰り返して言ってください。いいですか？ Okay. 私は全米日本語優等生協会の規則に従い世界の平和と日米相互理解のために努力することをここに誓います。
For those of you who do not speak Japanese, here is the translation. I pledge to serve the Japanese National Honor Society as a bridge of international understanding between Japan and the United States. I will serve as an ambassador to promote friendship between Japan, the United States, and other countries. I will abide by the Honor Society's principles and be a willing participant in its activities.
In the presence of these witnesses, you are now inducted into the Japanese National Honor Society. おめでとうございます。おめでとうございます。One more round of applause, please.
Congratulations to the Japanese Honor Society inductees. Let's get another round of applause for them. Every year, an alumni that has shown true passion and activity within the language community comes and talks about their journey. Tonight, we have Gail O'Rourke, who graduated from North Penn High School in 2016 and then graduated from Temple University's honors program with a major in English and a minor in Japanese in 2022. Gail had the privilege of studying abroad in her high school summer vacation of 2015 in Wakayama Prefecture. One of Gail's achievements includes graduating from the NYU Summer Publishing Institute in June 2021. And most recently, Gail had received a job as an assistant literary scout at West Wind Literary Scouting. Wow, what great journeys. I cannot wait to hear about her experiences. Without further ado, let us all give a warm welcome to Gail.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for taking the time to be here tonight. My name is Gail O'Rourke, and as you just heard, I graduated from North Penn High School in 2016. I was inducted into the Japanese National Honor Society as a junior in 2015, and the time I spent studying Japanese under Koyo sensei is something that stuck with me throughout the rest of my studies and into my professional career. I've studied abroad in Japan twice, graduated from Temple University with a major in English and a minor in Japanese, and I've gone on to become an assistant literary scout working in international book publishing market. And none of this would have been possible for me if it hadn't been for this amazing program and all the effort that Sensei put into it. At the risk of sounding a little cliche, Japanese was more than just a class for me in high school. It was a home and community, and I'm sure most of you sitting before me here would feel the same as me. Sensei took great care not just to teach language, but culture too, bringing us on field trips like the Mitsuwa Japanese Marketplace in New Jersey and encouraging us to participate in Japanese holidays. I still remember how we made different Japanese foods in class together, like takoyaki and onigiri, and the fishing game we played on Kodomo no Hi, Children's Day. All that being said though, working hard to learn the language brought with it such a sense of accomplishment and an ability to connect with everything I was learning about the culture on a deeper level. I remember studying for extracurricular oral competitions and the Nihongo Philicon, a yearly competition held by the Japanese Society of Greater Philadelphia. Performing well at these competitions, of course, brought me a sense of personal pride, but beyond that, there was this feeling of, wow, I'm actually doing this. I'm speaking this language and understanding it. I can really use this. I put that ability to the test when I had the tremendous opportunity to study abroad in the summer of 2015, just after I myself had been inducted into JNHS. Sensei had encouraged me to apply to the program, and that summer I ended up traveling to a small seaside city in the Wakayama Prefecture. It remains one of the best decisions I've made in my entire life. To be immersed in the language and the culture so fully allowed me to engage with everything I had been learning on a new level. It was tangible now. I was using what I had learned and I was applying it practically. Of course, it showed me how much more I still had to learn too. For as much as I felt like I had been learning, I had my fair share of mishaps and misunderstandings with the language. But it just made me hungry to learn more. The world had suddenly become smaller. I had friends, experiences, and a home on both sides of it. I recall feeling stressed about it, actually, around the time I had to fly back to America. I was worried I wouldn't ever feel fully satisfied in one place anymore, and that I would always be missing something somewhere else. I won't lie, that was a feeling I grappled with for a while, but it was a motivator too. I had to go back. After high school, I continued my studies, not just Japanese language, but cultural studies too. Whole classes on Japanese literature, reading Haruki Murakami, Ryunosuke Akutagawa, and Masuji Ibuse. I studied abroad again, this time in Tokyo, and I could feel a big difference. How much more I knew this time around. I could spend an entire day out on my own, take the train to a museum, grab a bite to eat, even go to the movies. I was far from perfect, but I could manage, and most importantly, I could make connections. I was engaging with people I otherwise never could have met or communicated with before. It was just one more language, one more country, but it felt like the entire world had opened up. I made connections during that time that I still hold dear today. That feeling of the world opening up, as I mentioned before, isn't always easy to process. At times I felt lost, like I wasn't sure where I should be, and like I might never be happy with just staying in one place. But the experiences I opened myself up to and the connections I made through them are worth more than I'm sure how to put into words. I truly wouldn't trade them for the world, and I've learned how to channel that feeling of uncertainty. I've always loved literature and wanted it to be a part of my life, and I found a way to accomplish that while pursuing my desire to be involved in international media. Just this year, I landed a job as an assistant literary scout, a role that aids publishers in foreign countries in acquiring American books for translation and publication in their respective territories. My Japanese language and study abroad experiences are what made it possible for me to be hired in this role, and the company I work for is in talks to acquire a new Japanese author as we speak. I'll forever be grateful not just for all the incredible experiences and memories I've been collecting through these past years of studying Japanese, but also for the fact that I can continue to use my Japanese and connect with the culture through my job, and hopefully make a few more memories too. So I want to thank Sensei so much for opening this door for me and inspiring this passion in me. And I want to thank you all too for working hard and following your own passions. Knowing a second language really does unlock the door for a myriad of opportunities, and I hope you'll keep this key close to your heart. Thank you for listening to my reflections. I hope they can be an indication of things to come for you all too. But this night is about you. You have so much to be proud of. I hope you'll keep along this path, no matter how difficult it might be sometimes, and I hope you'll celebrate how far you've already come. Thank you and congratulations. You've earned it. Omedetou gozaimasu.
Thank you so much to our wonderful alum, Gail O'Rourke, for her presence tonight and encouragement for the new members to continue with their love of language and pursuit of their academic success.
So with each year, we here at Delta Epsilon Phi are also honored to bring an alumni back who showed true passion for and dedication to the language community while at North Penn. This year, Ethan Fryman is here to share his experiences in German and his knowledge about education to provide us all with his advice. And he graduated from high school last year in 2021. He took 5 years of German, and he had my role last year. He was the German club president. He's currently a freshman at Temple, hoping to obtain his Bachelor's of Political Science in May of 2025, and he hopes to conduct research in politics, economics, and the law. So let's give a welcome to Ethan Fryman.
This thing on? Okay. Hello, and konnichiwa, I guess, even though that's not really my forte, and good evening to everyone here. So, I got the prompt to write a speech about why learning a second language is important, why it matters, and just to celebrate everyone in the audience, and for everyone who's thinking about it, why you should too. So, I sort of divided this up into just bullet points, not writing out a full speech, so you'll have to bear with me here. I'd like to share a quote first. It's, "A man who knows 2 languages is worth 2 men." This is a French proverb, and I think this quote could best be attributed to my former German teacher, Herr Marshall. Now, on the German side of things, show of hands, who went to Penfield? All right. So, Herr Marshall is the German teacher there, and he told us a bit about his life throughout all the nonsense and fun activities we had through his class. He told us how he grew up in Berlin. Now, if you know anything about German history, for an older person to grow up in Berlin, you could assume it wasn't the safest upbringing, wasn't the best, and just the division that he must have faced while growing up, it must have been unstable for much of his life. Now, how he got here to America, to Hatfield, being a German teacher at Penfield Middle School, we don't have the full picture, but he elaborated on it in class. He talked about how he met his wife, an American, while he was living in his home in Berlin, in Germany, and how once he met his wife, that prompted him to move to Germany and then, move to America, to the Boston area, and start an entire new life. So, He said that he moved to Boston after meeting his wife. He had no idea what to do once getting here, especially on the language side of things, because you think about it today, anyone who has a friend from Germany or has been to Germany or knows Germans, you know that they speak English pretty well. But that isn't always the case, especially for people who lived in East Germany like Herr Marshall did, and for older Germans such as he. They didn't really speak English that well, and so he had a major obstacle to overcome. Not only being in a new country, knowing only one person there, but also having to face an entire new language. But he didn't give up. He took this seemingly insurmountable task and turned it into an opportunity, not only to just be with the person he loves, but to make a better life for himself. Because, to be honest, being a German teacher, it's not the most unpopular job, but it's not an average day-to-day job that many people across the world do. So how did he end up here? Well, he told us, hard work. Every single night, he would study his conjugations, the ones he wrote on his little flip cards, on the S train every day, to work and back. Wherever he was always trying to improve his English, starting conversations with just anyone on the street who would give him the time of day. And over time, gradually, through a process that worked for him, he finally was able to master the English language, earn an American citizenship, and now officially become, or I guess 20 years ago, we don't really know, but a German teacher at Penfield Middle School. So, that proves that language, number one, opens doors for you. But I'd like to share another quote now. Learning another language isn't only learning different words for the same things, but also learning another way to think of things. So, as I said, or as Rafik said, I speak German. I took German 5 years here at the high school, from German 1 all the way till AP German. But to be honest, when I was first selecting a language, or when I first got to the middle school really, my parents were against me taking another language because I already spoke two at home. They told me it was useless. They told me that I should be taking more important classes like math credits, science credits, business, or something that would actually help me. But after taking French, just like Herr Baker, I nearly took that language. It was a flip of a coin decision. But I ended up taking German because of the aforementioned Herr Marshall. Why? He may have bribed us with German gummy bears every single day, but that's neither here nor there. Now, in German 1, we had 3 classes, each of them full, about 80 or so people. And then German 2, 2 classes, but full, 30 people. But once I got to AP German at the high school, only about 10 people in my entire class. So how did that happen? How did we go from having so many people, besides the gummy bears, so many people interested in taking German, and then getting here and just dissipating as the levels kept getting more difficult and difficult? Well, I think it's more of your personal motivation for taking the language and for sticking with it. I know every single person has different motivations, different ways of learning, different reasons why they want to take their language. But for me, there were a number of factors that went into it. But one of them was just who I am, and more specifically, where my family is from. My great-grandfather immigrated from Germany to here. Now, he was born before the First World War even broke out, and his father, my great-great-grandfather, actually served in World War I on the German side. Now, I bring this up because he was from a town called Hechingen, which has about half the population of Lansdale, about 3 times the population of Hatfield. Not a very large town, but still enough people. Now, that town is in the south of Germany, and what you have to understand is there's a huge difference between the north and the south. The north is much more lax, while the south is what you'd consider sort of the south in the United States today. It's more conservative, it's more religious, and when you think of the German stereotype, the people with the big lederhosen eating their pretzels and spouting German words very angrily and very quickly, that's the South. So, where my family's from. Now, when he was moving to the United States, he moved here in 1929, which was about the cusp of when the Great Depression had started. And my great-grandfather, when he moved here, he said that he did it for economic reasons. However, his father, my great-great-grandfather, came here in 1937, only 2 years before the Second World War broke out. Now, my great-great-grandfather had, as you could imagine, a hard time moving out of Germany into America. For a number of reasons. Could it have been that he had little to no money? Could it have been that he was maybe disabled and had a hard time getting around? Could it have been that he had to wear a gold star everywhere he went and was constantly attacked and just not welcome for who he was, for his religion? Well, all three. So he spoke both Yiddish and German. However, he was able to switch between the languages a lot, especially because German and Yiddish are so closely related. It was very easy for him. So I like to think that knowing those two languages and then once moving to America, learning a third, not only may have helped them in getting here, but may have saved their lives. So it's very empowering for me because my ancestors, their German citizenship taken from them. The German language, once they got to the US, they didn't speak German anymore. They only spoke Yiddish and English, taken from them. So to be able to visit Germany and then speak German fluently and take back what I believe was taken from my family, it empowers me. And not only that, but it's also empowering to be able to understand someone else in an entirely different culture, a different part of the world, a part of the world where many people wouldn't venture to go, a part of the world where many people don't really know the customs, the language. It shows that we are empowered by knowing other languages. So number 2, it empowers you. And now number 3, I'd like to share a quote, not really language related, but I think it still relates, and it's, "We're more alike than we are different," by Maya Angelou. So I was already content with my language knowledge in both English and Hebrew, the other language I speak at home. And when I arrived to the high school and I arrived to German class, the first thing that struck me about German was how similar it was to English. Because English itself is a Germanic language, which I didn't even know until arriving to that class. So there are words like Apfel, apple, blau, blue, Buch, book, Schnee, snow, Mutter and father, mother and father, so on and so forth, that are very similar to the English language, which you would get. But then there are also indirect cognates, like a Rede. What's a Rede? It's what I'm doing right now. Reden, to read. It's a speech. Or Prüfung. What's a Prüfung? It's a test. Well, how does that make sense? Proof. You're proofing someone, making sure they know the knowledge. Prüfung. So, how are you surviving? Well, here's another phrase. How are you? You could say, surviving, in English, right? But in German, you could say, wie geht es dir? Man lebt, one lives. Similar things in English and German both show that no matter where you are in the world, we are all more alike than we are similar. And I think this fact has helped me connect with my international friends all over the world, but mainly in Germany, specifically in Aalen, one of our sister cities, and Kemmen, which is right across from Strasbourg in France. So, through all those experiences, I've learned that we're more alike than we are different, and that language not only empowers you, but it also opens the doors for more opportunities that you would have never been able to get if not there. So I just want to thank all the inductees, both German and Japanese, to all the families out there, to Sensei Coyle, and of course my former German teacher, Herr Baker. Danke. I don't know how to say that in Japanese, but this is the end of my speech. Thank you.
Thank you again, Ethan, for sharing your dedication and inspiration with us. We will now like to invite all our inductees, as well as any alumni, to come up as we sing a Japanese song by the name of Tegami, which means letter, along with Casey's accompaniment on the piano. This song was created by Angela Key, who was half Spanish and half Japanese. This song is famous among students and is made it to several competitions. The second verse will be sung in German by Delta Epsilon Phi inductees. For audience members who do not speak Japanese, the English and Japanese lyrics can be found in your program.
I thought that was great. I don't know. Before this all concludes, I want everyone to give a special applause to Herr Baker and Cole Sensei. As they mentioned earlier, this is actually the last time that they'll ever bear witness to this annual ceremony. So thank you, and we would like to once again thank you all for coming out to be a part of this special ceremony tonight. Thank you to all our performers and crew members and our advisors for making this night possible. And lastly, please give all the inductees one last round of applause.
Without the iconic Coyle Sensei and Herr Baker duo, it will definitely be a different chapter for North Penn High School. Even so, I am sure that all our inductees will be able to continue to accomplish all their endeavors. Thank you all once again for joining us and for all the hard work that everyone has put into the ceremony. With that, we would like you to join us in the back for some refreshments on both sides. Help yourself. As well as please do take part in some of our own creative photo booth sessions that we're going to hold on the stage, but just please be careful when getting up the stage. The steps are to the right and to the left. It was my pleasure, as well as Rafiq's, to be your MCs for this special ceremony. And we hope that you have all learned a word or two in a new language. Good night, everyone.